Hello, I'm the Earl of Lytton, an independent crossbench peer in the House of Lords. I'm one of the sponsors, along with the Bishop of Chelmsford, of an amendment to the Levelling Up and Regeneration Bill, which aims to give added protection to leasehold property owners who have purchased in good faith only to find their buildings were not constructed to regulation standards and are unsafe. As a chartered surveyor by profession, I'm familiar with long leasehold property issues, although I have no personal or recent professional involvement. As a member of the all-party parliamentary group on leasehold and commonhold, I want to see an end to the abuses to the leasehold system, and this amendment will allow those who wish to enfranchise or convert to commonhold to do so without taking on potential remediation liabilities personally, as is the case under the Building Safety Act. But the amendment in my name that has come to be known as PolluterPays isn't about legal tenure at all. It's about making responsible those who over past decades have built blocks of flats or converted buildings into apartments, but who have cut corners and not built in accordance with building practices prevailing at the time. This basic principle of making people responsible for putting right what they have got wrong is what this is all about. After the tragedy of Grenfell Tower in 2017, the government has taken significant steps under the Building Safety Act 2022 to provide redress and support for those who, no fault of their own, find themselves faced with eye-watering remediation costs. But these measures don't go far enough, and if you are one of those living in a building requiring fire safety remediation, 4 stories or less, or who happens to have a higher value flat, or are a leasehold-owned block, or perhaps an innocent buy-to-let investor with several properties, you may rightly be concerned at finding yourself unfairly liable for investigation, remediation, insurance and waking watch costs created by others. And I know from my mailbag this is turning lives and life chances upside down. It's an injustice. So the PolluterPays amendment aims to put that right and to insert a new provision into our laws that will firstly place strict legal liability where it belongs, with those who designed, constructed and oversaw a poor standard of building work that didn't meet the regulations. Secondly, it aims to do this via a relatively simple process of inspection and determination, protecting claimants from endless legal wrangles. Thirdly, it will protect all innocent leaseholders and investors, not just some of them. Fourthly, it sets out to ensure that where no responsible developer or constructor can be found, that there is a remediation fund from a backstop levy on all those who contributed to the problem, such as materials suppliers, and not just certain developers only as under the government scheme. Fifthly, I believe it would turbocharge remediation. And sixthly, I believe it would serve to bring confidence back into a sector where unsellable and unmortgageable flats are already a problem. But I believe it would remove the incentive to cut corners on construction standards and ensure better practices for the future. However, peers and MPs cannot fix this alone. We need to change the stance of government and an industry which I believe is reluctant to acknowledge the scale of the problem. So your help is needed. You can send a message to government and parliamentarians about how big a problem this really is and how many lives are affected. And by writing to peers and MPs, you can bring it to their direct attention too. The amendment was drafted by and for people like you, the leaseholders. If you are an affected leaseholder in particular, this is your chance to help me and others fight your corner. So do view the excellent short video by Alison Hills, who explains how this works in more detail. And finally, thank you so much for listening.